This is about building a process that Peter just laid out flawlessly about Waterloo, the innovation agenda, and the global connectedness, which is going to determine whether or not we really are back here in 5 years' time, allowing ourselves a moment of self-congratulation, or whether we're back here in 5 years' time talking about what happened in Asia and what boat we missed. And I think, so if you'll indulge me one more time for a few quick comments on today's, one general comment and then some housekeeping. So a few quick comments. I had 3 quotes from the day that I thought were really, and I mean, you single out, but you single out, you have to, because otherwise you can't compress, you can't do a highlight reel. If I were titling my summary to this with a tip of the hat or a shout out to update language to Steve Orsini, it's baby food to China. Why are we not understanding our brand? It's very simple. Our brand is integrity. Our brand is the quality of the bureaucrats who do food safety regulation. Our brand is that we know how to process food. We're in one of the most competitive food processing clusters in the world in Southwest Ontario. People send their soups here to get canned without any kind of brand name. So let's do it. I don't see, and I think Howard put it magnificently, I don't see complacency. I see some fog in the discussion of innovation, but I don't see complacency when I see any kind of 30-year-old or 25-year-old or even 20-year-old on the campus of the University of Waterloo, or frankly on the campus of other great universities in the country. So we are just on a stage where we now have to get out there and do that. So what is it that's holding us back a little bit here? We haven't really discussed in a systematic way of this afternoon, because Torsten got us off to an incredible start, and the panel continued that. We haven't discussed how to manufacture global connectedness. Global connectedness is what's going to decide whether or not companies succeed, individuals succeed, regions succeed, cities succeed, countries succeed. And now we're going to have to go about doing that. So my second point of the quote of the day came from Bill Sullivan, Dean of Engineering, about the uniqueness of what's happened here, which she said quite casually, about having people thinking about hardware and people thinking about software, and then thinking about the two of them together and getting this incredible set of companies that you saw in ClearPath and Falmec today. We do some things better than anyone else, and those are the things we should be concentrating on doing, because that's an antidote to complacency, to know that you're the best at what you're doing. To do as Ian Klugman, my third quote, said, which is to own the podium. We don't own the podium in everything, but it's hockey that counts. If we own the podium on the things we set to own the podium on. And Ian said a bunch of things that were really worth quoting, but the one that I'm going to do with is about, it's not just about starting up companies. It's about growing them into being the leading e-learning company in Canada, the leading digital design company in Canada, the leading software company in Canada. It's about growing them. And that's going to be my last thing that I want to leave you with. We're very good in Canada, and the Canadian brand is one that is a remarkable brand when we know it when we see it. We do certain things well with the decency and wisdom and integrity of a Canadian public service, with the fact that if it has Canadian baby food on it, you're likely to want to give it to your kid. Those are brand items that are worth cherishing, nurturing, and commercializing. Nothing wrong with commercializing them. They're worth doing. And what we now have to do is to figure out, in that wonderful mix of capital markets and venture capital and entrepreneurs, which is a world that I live in, Peter lives in, Prashant lives in, and other people that you've heard talk live in. We've got to figure out why it is we have problems growing Canadian companies. Why Canadian companies don't buy companies in Korea, in Tunisia, why we stop at our border, why we don't buy companies in Canada, why we don't grow, why we don't figure out that we are very good at hardware and software integration and creating things like ClearPath and Falmic. It's a question, but the answer is in the question. Our capital markets are not set up that way. It's not a mystery for those of us who live in that world. We're set up to do certain other kinds of things. We're set up as a capital market. Nothing wrong with this. This is not a criticism. This is not an attack on anything. We're set up as a capital market to provide money to mining and commodities companies to go find more mines and more places to grow commodities. That's what we're designed to do. So there's a redesign here, and it's not going to be easy. And that gets us back to Peter's final point. To Peter's final point, and to the thing that I'd hoped we would end this with as a kind of Dateline Waterloo moment. But Waterloo, let the word go out from here, but from a Waterloo moment, that we are now about linking global entrepreneurs to global capital markets. Entrepreneurs can't just think about their own company. They've got to think about the capital market, because the capital market is determining their customers. The capital market is determining their growth patterns. The capital market is going to determine ultimately whether or not they get the exit that they want for all their hard work. And I thought Torsten did a remarkably synthetic, a North European, job of pulling those kinds of strands together. So we have to be right now thinking about the way in which the next generation, which we are developing and on this campus and in this community and in this ecosystem, how the next generation can take a global leadership role in a very different global economy of linking entrepreneurs to the capital markets, linking entrepreneurs to productive capital. We didn't invent this. This is not just something that came out of our head. It didn't come out of Torsten's head. It didn't come out of Peter's head. This is a process that's going on around the world today, and either we figure it out, accelerate it, and own it as something that we can contribute to with our brand of quality control, just like it's baby food to China, then we have this enormous responsibility that we will have missed a chance to do. The growing inequality in the world is not just morally troubling, it's the number one security issue on the planet. And if we fail to understand that the only way this inequality ends is by changing capital markets so that they do link the talented innovator to productive capital, to grow companies, to create jobs, to distribute wealth, then if we don't do that, we've missed an important opportunity. And on that note, I will say the concrete. You don't get out of here with the happy groom and bride and now we can go home, because we're going to start a process of making Waterloo a global brand, a process of taking these kinds of issues on a larger platform and on an ongoing basis. There will be a summit next year. I don't want to steal Feriden's thing, but it is not just about having a great event and meeting wonderful people like the people in this room and the people who are outside at home in their loft or watching it on the internet. It's about figuring out how this actually concretely is made to work. And I know that from the conversations around, you're on the same page. So on a personal note, I thank you for your attention. I thank you for your indulgence of my sometimes, although I do stay to the clock. So blame the people who put the clock on if I'm up here too long. There you go. And now, they shut the clock off at that moment. That was a very nicely done moment there, and I really am impressed. And that gives me the cue to say, because they're going to get mad at me for doing this, but tough. There are certain people who did so much work on this. Not a lot of people, when we think of a secretariat of this summit, it's not very large, but they are amazing. They work unbelievably hard. They never complain. Kelly McManus, Brittany Stacy, you don't have to come out, because if you want to come out, you can come out. But if I don't mention you, it's wrong, because this type of stuff does not happen with people like this. One more advertisement for the region, by the way, if you're looking at this from a foreign investor's point of view, somewhere out there on the screen. So we will hope you stay in touch. We hope you continue to build on some values and some projects that we've been discussing here. And now it is my pleasure, and one more thing I have to say, to turn this over to Feridun Hamdulapur to wrap this up. But let me just say one thing about Feridun to embarrass him like I just enjoyed embarrassing Kelly and Brittany. Feridun is the reason many of us are here. This is a man whose integrity and vision and background equips him to be a global brand builder. And that is the reason, I repeat, many of us are here. It is about immigration. It is about the diaspora. It is about the ability of this country to attract the best people in the world. It is about the ability to build the world's leading social media project for the Tamil-speaking world, to people in the audience. It is about having a president of a university from Turkey, a dean of engineering from Malaysia. It is about all of these accomplishments, and that is why many of us are here. He's a friend, he's an amazing guy, and your turn to wrap this up.